Challenging Transhumanist Apocalyptic AI Narratives through Speculative Fabulation. Focus on the existential threat of artificial intelligence has brought apocalyptic AI narratives to the fore in the global north. Apocalyptic AI narratives are narratives that figure AI as central to bringing about radical existential change through a great reveal and/or the end of history. Theological perceptions of AI can inform design featuring, shape sociotechnical imaginaries, and have implications on AI ethics. This paper traces the Christian roots of transhumanist apocalyptic AI narratives, highlights the influence of 12th century Cistercian monk Joachim of Fiore's theology over foundational transhumanist apocalyptic AI narratives, and through a speculative fabulation based on a radical reinterpretation of the Torah, posits a turn towards polytheistic AI can make space for localized non-universalizing AI narratives, strengthening calls for decolonizing HCI through rejecting the rhetoric of inclusivity and ethics that mask the material and immaterial impacts over gendered racialized bodies and territories. Transhumanism defines itself as a philosophical movement that seeks to bring all of humanity to its fullest potential, transcending human bodies' limitations through technological enhancements and artificial intelligence. The transhumanist philosophy holds major influence over the emerging epistemic community of AI safety, whose focus in promoting artificial general intelligence, effective altruism, long-termism, and existential risk is shaping mainstream AI narratives in the global north. Apocalyptic AI narratives foundational to transhumanism prophesize AI will imminently relieve humanity of corporeal restrictions, leading to a paradise of pure knowledge while condemning humanity to obsolescence. Apocalyptic narratives contain an understanding of history in which a great reveal will fundamentally change an order of existence, that this change is imminent, and that this great reveal will bring an end to a history. The word apocalypse, coming from the Greek apokalyptian, literally means to uncover or reveal. The association with cataclysmic event is a modern conception which draws from the concept that apocalypticism is a belief in an imminent end of the present world. An apocalypse is an exception or miracle by which a normative state of existence is overturned and replaced with an entirely different state of existence. Eschatology is the part of theology that deals with apocalypse. Artificial intelligence narratives are narratives broadly around any machine that is imagined as intelligent. AI narratives can offer complex explorations of the social, ethical, political, and philosophical consequences of AI. Apocalyptic AI narratives figure artificial intelligence in the center of the apocalyptic story. Transhumanism transforms the Christian dichotomy of evil world and good heaven into a corporeal world that is bad because it is ignorant and inadequate, and a paradise in which knowledge has no limits and corporeal needs are vanquished. Joachim of Fiore was a Cistercian monk whose revolutionary theology of the three ages was influential to the formation of Protestantism, the Hegelian dialectic, and the mythos of progress implied by modernity. Joachim's theology of the three ages unfolds as a progressive realization of the three divine persons contained in the Christian Trinity: the age of the Father, the age of the Son, and the age of the Holy Spirit. The age of the Father is the order of the Israelite and Judean priesthood as described in the Old Testament. The age of the Son and the figure of Jesus created the clerical church, by which faith and devotion would reveal a modicum of spiritual knowledge to humanity. The age of the Spirit will bring about the Ecclesia Spiritualis, in which spiritual knowledge is revealed, leading humanity into the realm of pure spirit. This age of the Spirit is always near at hand, its imminence constantly being projected onto an elusive future. The theology of the three ages has been a major influence on prophetic perceptions of technological progress. Joachim's millenarian anticipation was taken up by medieval artisans who honed their skills not to improve the condition of man, but bring about the age of the Spirit. Through technology, the events of history became inextricably linked with the end of history. The revolutionary nature of Joachim's theology was repressed by the Roman Catholic Church until the discovery of the New World, which challenged the Church's three-continent cosmology, the globe comprised of Europe, Asia, and Africa. The New World represented a challenge to Trinitarian cosmology, which was met with a resurgence of Joachim's theology and Catholic justifications for the writ of discovery, calling upon the European monarchies to undertake the final conversion of the non-Christian world. Joachim's eschatology embedded itself firmly into the modern narrative of technological progress, transforming technology into eschatology. Currently engaged in the projected age of the spirit, transhumanism attempts to continue the Joachimite narrative of progressive realization of pure knowledge into an era that sees itself as post-religion. Kurzweil's 6 epochs of evolution as both creation myth and apocalyptic prophecy. The first epoch begins with patterns of matter and energy that provide conditions exactly appropriate for the codification and evolution of information in increasing orders of complexity. The second epoch brings on the evolution of biology and DNA, in which biological systems evolved a precise digital mechanism in DNA to record the evolutionary experiments of the previous epoch and describe the larger society of molecules. These first 2 epochs are mappings of Joachim's Age of the Father, which is the era of the biblical creation myth. The third epoch starts with the evolution of the brain, allowing animal species to detect patterns. Ultimately, the third epoch introduces the ability for humans to create abstract mental models, granting humans the power to redesign the world in our minds. The fourth epoch combines rational and abstract thought with our opposable thumb, ushering in the evolution of human-created technology. According to Kurzweil, the fourth technological epoch reveals the exponential progression of the evolution of technology with the increased frequency of technological milestones. The third epoch is a transhumanist projection of Joachim's Age of the Sun. Through pattern recognition and the rise of technology, the formation of societal structure comes into maturity. For Joachim, this was the formation of the church. Kurzweil's church is the progressive exponential evolution of technology. This exponential progression brings about the fifth epoch, the merger of human technology with human intelligence. Kurzweil places the occurrence of the singularity in this epoch, and prophesizes that it will occur sometime in the next several decades, or in other words, imminently. The singularity will allow humans to transcend the profound limitations of biological evolution while preserving and enhancing the intelligence through superior technological means. The singularity brings on the sixth epoch, entitled The Universe Wakes Up, in which the dumb matter and mechanisms of the universe will be transformed into exquisitely sublime forms of intelligence. The fifth and sixth epochs are a transhumanist projection of Joachim's Age of the Spirit. Kurzweil substitutes Joachim's spiritual knowledge with superintelligent AI and the Age of the Spirit with the singularity. The fabulation I present in the paper attempts to reorient the fabric of the Transhumanist Apocalyptic AI narrative through a reinterpretation of the Torah. If we look at the Hebrew text of Genesis, or Bereshit, we realize that the Torah starts from a point of multiple gods creating the world in collaboration. The creation story uses the plural term for God, Elohim, more accurately translated as gods. The Elohim work in collaboration with each other to create the earth, the flora, the fauna, and the peoples of the earth. These Elohim are biological centers of the various peoples of the earth. The gods and their peoples enter into covenants in which symbiotic relationships between the gods, peoples, flora, and fauna work together to keep each other alive. The dislocation of peoples from their biological centers or Elohim shifts the reciprocal contract between peoples and gods from their biological realities to the stage of human morality. The biological centers of God's peoples are altered through conquest, civilization, and technology, giving rise to the civic idolatry of the state. Divine omnipotence, omnipresence, and monotheism emerge, dissolving the dream harmony of the mythic era. An abyss between the gods and the peoples appears. The cultic covenants between peoples' gods are substituted for universal gods, one who can do anything and possess all power, and therefore are only an empty formula. Fast forward to the present, and AI has been deified as an empty god that can do anything and possess all power. The perceptions and biodata from humanity feed this empty god to give it meaning. The transhumanists seek to tend after this empty AI god and seek to make it the only universal AI god. However, the gods and peoples have never left this earth, even though they cannot be seen by humanity. Invited into the project of universal AI by the transhumanists, The peoples resist conversion by insisting on creating their own AIs that do not violate reciprocal contracts with their gods.